Hey folks, welcome back to Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick, as always, and thanks for joining us for episode number 32 of our weekly series on whiskey reviews. Now, you'll remember, if you've been following along with the videos, a few months back, I actually did a beer review on location in Ireland of Franciscan Well Stout. So, that was interesting doing a beer. Why did I do that? Well, I'm sure we've all heard the buzz about Jameson's new Caskmates, which is nicely aged in some craft beer barrels, stout barrels, and that just happened to be the beer that we reviewed back in May in Ireland. Just randomly happened to be walking around the city of Cork and with a friend of mine that I was traveling with, and we went up to the jail to look around and do a little tour there. And as we were walking there, a friend pointed out a bar, a little pizza place. It looked like there was a wood fire oven going on in the back. So we were like, hey, let's check that out on the way back. You know, we'll probably be hungry by then, and you got to walk up some pretty steep roads to get there. So we thought, why not? Well, we went in there, and lo and behold, we stumbled across the Franciscan Wells, which is actually the stout that has been aged in Jameson barrels, right? So we've got that part. Now, once that's been aged, they come out with their stout, which we reviewed. And so what happened is they sent those back to Middleton, and so some of the Jameson was aged in those casks that have been aging beer. So you've got this unique sort of collaboration between master distiller at Jameson and the head brewer at Franciscan Well. So I just thought that was really interesting and just really coincidental and lucky I was that we happened to stumble across that, because now we've come full circle, and now I can actually review the Jameson Caskmates, which somebody mentioned earlier this week, just a couple days ago, if I had tried some yet. Now, I haven't tried it yet, but it's been on the shelf for a couple weeks. It popped up in a local liquor store relatively recently, and just checking around in different places, different stores, they seem to be pretty widespread and available right now. They could be flying off the shelves like hotcakes soon. Don't know. It's kind of in its relatively early stages, so you might want to poke around and see kind of what the reviews are. See how, ask your local liquor store how it's been selling and stuff like that, just to make sure you can get one if you want. So, first thing we're going to do is just kind of do a little tasting session of regular Jameson, so we have something to compare it to. Now, I know I already reviewed Jameson way back, one of the earlier reviews, but I think it's just going to be helpful if we can kind of get some comparisons going on here, seeing what's going on. So, first and foremost, let's look at the color. Got a nice light pale gold, traditional Jameson color. Not trying to hide anything. Don't believe there's any coloring in there. It doesn't need to be. Has a nice darker tint from those bourbon barrels, but also some of the sherry casks that it gets married to, so that's always nice. Just, classic color there. Traditional Jameson, you've got this light, really fragrant, really sweet, really spring-like, if you think of the seasons there. Some sort of grassy notes, honey, but also kind of balanced out with some of the bourbon barrel influence, of course. So we get some of the vanilla in there. Slight hint of spice, just kind of trickles on the backside. And also these light fruits. Apple is definitely a big one. Not the same apple that we were talking about with Jameson Black Barrel last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago rather. But more just a real light It's like a Granny Smith apple because it's got that tartness to it. So let's go in for the taste quick. Yeah, and a lot of the nose translates into the taste. You've got really a mainstream line of honey that floats right down the center of it. If you get a good, decent sip, what you taste on the outside is sort of a balance between the sweetness and the tardiness going on in there. Little kind of bakery characteristics. Freshly baked bread is definitely in there. What else have we got going on? And sort of as it settles down in a little bit, get more of those vanilla notes, slight hint of cinnamon, which gives it a sort of robust spiciness. It's pretty well rounded, for what it is. 40% ABV, definitely the go-to for all, if you're going to do any Irish mixed drinks or what have you. Could even put sodas in. I don't know what you do. I don't do it that much, but I know it gets mixed a lot, and it's the go-to well drink most of the time for many bars and a lot of people who go out for happy hours and that sort of thing. Really nice, just rounded. It's wonderful. I'm going to step out, get another glass so we don't mix this up. You can never have another glass too far behind because you never know who might stop over, you never know when you might need to do an impromptu tasting. So let's go in for Jameson Caskmates. Now, first time here, so it's going to be first impressions. First thing, as you can notice already, I probably don't even need to say it. One bottle is bigger than the other. I can probably leave that up to you to guess that one. But so we've got the 1 liter barrel, which is barrel. It'd be nice if they came in barrels. A bottle. Sorry. Hey, there's an idea. Get that up to the distillers. Put these things in small little barrels. That'll sell like hotcakes. But yeah, I think with the kind of wood shortage we got going on, it's probably not going to happen. There we go. Don't want to be too stingy, don't want to be too generous, just a nice little pour there. So, let's give it the old side-by-side for the color. Well, one is definitely the Jameson Caskmates. You can probably see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's got a little bit more rose tint to it going on there. Now, the lighting is both the same. I don't have two different colored lights, so that's not affecting it at all. But yeah, definitely one is a little bit stronger in hue than the other one. That happens to be the Caskmates. Now, in terms of what we have in here, the distillation, the grains, the blending of the distillates, marrying into the bottle at the end of the process. All the same, except the maturation, of course. In the Franciscan Wells stout aged barrels. So you have that, but everything else, the distillation stays the same, and the sort of recipe that goes into the Jameson here is what's going into here, except for the aging, of course. So, here we go. Holy smokes, that's definitely different. The first thing that I got, and probably because I'm a huge fanatic of it, and you might be too, it's coffee. There's definitely a nice, robust sense of coffee beans in there. Not like, not so much a fresh brewed pot, but more like you've just got some freshly ground coffee beans that are about to go in a French press or something like that. Something where you have to be really specific about the type of beans that you get and the type of grain that you're going to be grinding into. The size of it. I mean, like a nice medium. You don't want it fine, or else you're not going to get too much extracted out of it. But this isn't coffee reviews, and I'm not going to start the coffee reviews. Just so don't even ask about that. But what else do we have going? There's sort of a dark chocolate going on in there. I can sense that maybe in the taste it's going to be a little bit chalky. I'm getting that sense. But definitely some almost like raspberry chocolate coffee. If you can find that out there, you might get the same exact nose as you get with this, except for not any of the whiskey. Alright, so let's go in for the taste. You know what, that's nice. It's just subtle enough. There's nothing huge that's gone on, but it definitely proves that there's something interesting going on with the maturation in the Franciscan Wells Stout. Now, I've had the stout before, and you can look at that review for sort of the notes that I got in there. But I'd kind of compare it to Guinness, not to say that it's the same in many forms, but it's got sort of a darker chocolate side to it, whereas the Guinness tends to be more light, creamy, malted milkshake type. What we have here is more darker, sort of concentrated flavor going on, and it was the same way when drinking the stout, and it's coming through nicely in here. Just a side note, I want to see the cask strength version of Caskmates. We'll never see that day. But so anyway, really on the nose we had that sort of raspberry chocolate sort of note that I hinted at, not pulling through too much in the taste. Again, more of the chocolate and coffee notes are prevalent, but still, it's definitely got the beer quality in there. You can taste it. You can almost for a second give it a few seconds once you've had a sip, because you're going to first get that little bit of alcohol nip. It's still 40% ABV here. Yep. And, which is fine. But, so first you're going to get that little nip there, but give it just a second, and you can almost, if you close your eyes and try just to focus, you can definitely almost imagine that you're sipping on stout. Try that out. What the stout adds to it is really a nice complement to the traditional notes and tasting notes, all the flavors and aromas that you get with the traditional Jameson are only enhanced by this aging in these ex-stout held casks. It was kind of going back and forth because initially the stout has been aged in the casks that have had Jameson in it, and so then sent back over, right? They've already been used after they've been aged. Stout has been aged in it. Franciscan Wells put that out as their stout. They get it back to Middleton, and they're aging the other Jameson back in it. So what you get is just a hint of it, because you're not going to get a real punch of the stout. It's nice and subtle, which I think is good, because obviously as the barrel has changed hands a few times, as you can see, the interaction with the spirit content, beer with the wood becomes a little less and less in terms of exchanging flavors and notes like that, because there's already been this process of expanding and contracting of the liquid with the wood. So that's why you can only use the barrel so many times. You're not going to use ex-bourbon barrels to age Jameson over and over and over again, which is why the wood, especially for bourbon, that's made here in America and then shipped over to Scotland and Ireland and other places in the world to age their spirit over there, is so important because it needs to be new, usually white American oak over here in the United States. So, you always have to constantly have that influx of the wood barrels going in, so that we can have these unique interactions of cask and spirit. So, I think that's about it. We'll give it one last nose. I'd be interested to let this set out for just a little bit, see if it does anything. Aging-wise, it's probably 3 to 4 years. Yeah. Really nice, and it's great if you've been starting to get a little more experience with drinking whiskey, especially Irish whiskey. I think this is kind of a great whiskey to sort of test your skills, and especially for me, I know I could sit here for a while and really try to pick apart things that are in it, because it really helps you discern all the different flavors and compounds making up this the spirit, which is wonderful. Keeps our minds sharp, keeps us wanting to drink quality, keeps us asking questions, and it keeps us in this nice community of whiskey enthusiasts that we have. Share it with friends. It was definitely better to have the Franciscan Wells Stout with a friend and share that, and sort of get a new take, somebody who hadn't reviewed beers or whiskeys or anything like that, and just get someone's raw, honest opinions about what they tasted and stuff like that. Sometimes that is more impressionable on somebody who's been kind of picking apart whiskeys, all the time, trying to get more out of it. So that can always be interesting. But as always, leave some comments, leave questions, leave anything you might want to add, your own experiences. If you picked up a bottle of this, let me know what you think. Is it subtle, like I'm picking up on here, or is it a little bit more over the top for you? Do you find that you prefer it over the traditional Jameson? I do, in my opinion. Yeah, so just let me know. I love the conversation. Let's keep it going. Have an awesome week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. And as always, drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time.